It's his favorite song. Senator Cotton, good morning. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Hugh. I wasn't going to mention the Cleveland Browns loss, but with that kind of mockery, I think I'm going to have to bring it up.
We didn't lose. We went to overtime.
Getting closer.
It was closer, and we have a plan. Joe Thomas just tweeted out a picture of himself about to go under surgery, so we salute 10,363 snaps. Senator, normally I talk to you about defense, but I want to talk to you about the tax bill today because I am going crazy at the pace of the Senate. Everybody knows you have to pass this, and they won't release the bill. What is going on?
Well, Hugh, I think the House is supposed to take up our budget this week from the Senate, and my understanding is, based on some amendments we included in the budget last week to accommodate House concerns, they're just going to pass it, which is very good. That'll speed up the process somewhat, Hugh. That means that we won't spend a couple of weeks haggling over our differences. And hopefully the House Ways and Means Committee, which is where tax legislation must start, will get a bill out very soon.
And then they've got to decide on a fourth rate where it is. They've got to decide on the subchapter S. They've got to decide on the state and local. But whatever they decide, my point is it doesn't matter till it gets to the Senate, right? It goes to Orrin Hatch's committee. Does it go to any other committee besides Senator Hatch's committee?
No, Hugh, just the Senate Finance Committee. And, of course, the House is going to have an important say in this legislation as well. They're not just a stamp for what the Senate does. And in some ways, Hugh, some of the key action is going to happen in the House. Take the state and local tax deduction. High-tax blue states tend not to have Republican senators, California, Illinois, New York, for instance. But if you add up the Republican congressmen from the Central Valley and Orange County, from downstate Illinois, from upstate New York, that's a pretty sizable Republican caucus from those high-tax blue states. So this is going to be a bill that gets a lot of input from both the House and the Senate, but I do hope, Hugh, that we can move quickly and pass this bill this year.
You see, my view is if they would just put out a draft of anything, they would actually hear from people whether it's acceptable or not, then they would adjust, then they could pass. But then it's got to get over there, and you've got 5 senators, Senator Corker, Senator Paul, Senator Collins, Senator Murkowski, and Senator McCain. Those are the 5 critical votes. You all have input, but nothing matters till we get to conference. So it seems to me that everybody knows nothing matters until you get to conference. You got to get to conference. Why does everyone take so long? I mean, when you ran in the Army, did anything ever take this long in the Army?
No, Hugh. One of the core principles I learned at the infantry school at Fort Benning, although I have to say it was more of a principle of the soldiers than an official Army doctrine, was that speed kills, and we always tried to practice that in combat. That said, the military is very different from the Congress. This is a deliberative body. It's supposed to come together and represent different views and interests from all around the country. But I think by this point, Hugh, after 9 months of public and private deliberations, we have a pretty good idea of where things are going. And as you say, it's best just to get a bill out and start debating it and have the feedback in public and make these decisions and go on to a vote.
Now, the other thing is Senator Corker today is out criticizing the president, and this has become like a tennis match. It's like Jimmy Connors and John McEnroe. And so it was the turn of Senator Corker to volley today, and he said President Trump has kneecapped the State Department. I looked at the Senate Foreign Relations Committee markup. They have 18 nominees, including the ambassador to Niger, on their business meeting on Thursday. They've been bottled up forever. How can the chairman of Foreign Relations criticize President Trump for kneecapping the State Department when they won't move the nominees?
Well, Hugh, I respect and work well with both Donald Trump and Bob Corker. I think those two have some differences they need to work out to make sure that we move forward on our common agenda. You're right that they have a very big hearing this week to clear a lot of nominees, and I hope we move those promptly out and the Democrats allow us to get a quick vote on the floor. I can't comment on the particular circumstances of each nominee in terms of their background checks and when they were submitted to the Senate and so forth. But I do think we need to move as quickly as we can.
Has the Senate moved into overdrive? Senator McConnell and others have said he was going to go 24/7. Senator Ron Johnson said that on the show last week. So did Senator Dan Sullivan. Have you noticed, is the Senate committed to a longer work week?
No, we haven't had those longer periods yet, Hugh. We did have a late night last week with the budget, although voting until 9 p.m. and being in our workplace at 9 p.m. is not exactly what a lot of Americans can consider a late night whenever they've got a big case coming or a deal to close, or for that matter, if they're on patrol or if they're fighting fires or keeping our streets safe. I will say this, though. Senator McConnell is committed that we are going to clear the decks this year, and that's critical to do so. The main problem there is not Senator McConnell. It's not even some of our Republican Senate old bulls who might not prefer to stay here on Fridays or overnight. It's the Democrats using every single procedural tool they can in an unprecedented obstruction of this president's nominees. And we have to move forward, and if we have to impose the Senate's version of martial law and work around the clock until they agree to become more reasonable, then that's what we have to do.
I hope you impose the Senate version of martial law. I really do. Senator Tom Cotton, here's your song to take you out. Don't go anywhere, America. I'll be right back. It's the Hugh Hewitt Show.